Good morning. So I was sitting down to write because I love writing, and I don't know, I just had an impulse to talk first and then write, and sometimes that's what I do. It sounded funny. Like I see what's percolating in my mind, and then whatever thread of that seems like, oh, I want to write about that. So maybe that's where my writing is heading. Maybe it's been heading that way for a while since I've been doing these videos for a couple of year and a half now. Anyway, here we are at the end of May, and I was sort of like, when I realized, oh, it's May 31st, like already, I was like, but the year hasn't felt too fast. Like time, it's hard to reflect on things in the middle of the feeling about the thing. But what I feel about time is it's like changing right before my eyes. Like it's almost like falling away. It's almost like it's becoming irrelevant. And I love that so much because I've been a timeaholic. Like my whole life, I've been obsessed with like time and showing up early, getting places on time, making sure I have enough time, and what to do with my time, and the urgency behind, oh my God, time's running out, and all of that crap. What I've noticed this week, being outside of my normal environment, so still in Portland, I'll be going home tomorrow night, is my usual compulsion to show up early has seemingly faded away. And I've been noticing that at home in my own daily routine. So I'm curious what your relationship with time is, and is it helpful? And what would it be like if it changed in some way to be more helpful? And what I mean by that is I almost feel like now, as it falls away, that these compulsions, like it feels more like that, like I can breathe. Funny timing on that breath. It just feels like spaciousness, and that something that was like a binding or a boundary, like it was tight. It felt constricting, is like loosening and falling away, or maybe just getting bigger and feeling more spacious. Like I still operate in the world of time. You know, I have to be places at a certain time and blah, blah, blah. My whole schedule is about time. I have clients showing up at certain times, so I'm very aware how close we are to that time and all of that. But it doesn't have the same grip as it once did. And so what I've been noticing at home is this, I've been in the same studio space for about a year and a half, a little more. And I've been noticing how my compulsion, I just call it a compulsion because it felt like there was like some sort of like need to get there early, and like pretty early. I mean, there's stuff to do. I'm always folding linens and, you know, prepping the space, cleaning it, whatever. But there's been, and it's probably because I've been there a year and a half, just more comfortability in the space and my schedule feeling more comfortable. I've made my schedule more spacious, but so it's like I don't need to get there so early anymore, and I still get the same amount of shit done. I love that so much. It frees up more of my time in the morning to do more relaxing things in my home, like coffee time and journaling and reflection time. And so while I've been out here, I've noticed that my normal thing, especially on day one, day one of a training where I'm entering a new cohort full of all new people, I would have felt the compulsion to like get there really early. But knowing that they only open the doors so many, 15 minutes ahead of class also kind of puts a damper on that, like a natural, like, slow your roll, chickie, sort of thing. Whoa, my stomach's going growling. So, but even so, I just sort of like Googled to remind myself, like, how far is this walk? How long should it take? Okay, I'm good. And then I even found myself like putzing around here and being like, oh yeah, I should probably go. It's that sort of vibe where time doesn't feel as stressy anymore, as like urgent. And I love that so much because my whole life has been around the urgency of time. So I don't know why I started talking about that, other than I did like start to write, and I always like to put the little date at the top so I can always in journals, look back, know what date I was writing. And it was 5:31, and I was like, what? How'd we get here? What is 5:31? I don't understand. Are we in the middle of the year already? Like these 5, 6, 7, these 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, we're somewhere in the middle. I'm probably still asleep. So what was this year? Do you feel like this arbitrary like bucketing or bookmarks, or bookends rather, well, bookends with bookmarks in the middle, like that's in what does your mind, what in your mind, what does a year look like? What does a year look like in your mind? Because here I'm like in May, and I'm thinking from left to right: January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. So in my mind, even I'm sitting in a ruler system, horizontal spectrum of line tick marks. Each month is and here we are, so almost at the middle point in May. And it's like, it's so arbitrary, right? May is just a word. It's just some sounds that come out that says, here's what this date is. What's a date? Like, it gets so trippy when we're just existing. We're like, hi, and it doesn't mean anything. And then there are all these constructs around it that get built up in the mind. Of course, we have to have some way to communicate about, hey, let's get together to do this thing. Okay. And then we have to say when, where is the other question, but when and where. We're always about time and space. Like, when? Oh yeah, I guess we need a way to communicate about when. So we're like, okay, it used to be like, when the moon is almost full, but not quite full, but like just a little bit less than full, just like, and maybe you draw the shape of the moon when it looks like this, and then and then on the next light, after the birds stop singing, but before the sun is right over it, like almost when the sun's like kind of this way, like it's ridiculous. Like, of course we had to come up with shortcuts. I just love thinking about how things might have gone before we made these constructs, because it makes me laugh. Of course, that's how things evolve. We're always creating shortcuts. We don't want to recreate the wheel. We don't want to have to talk about the moon and the sun all the time. Oh, that's a poem waiting to happen. So, I don't know. It's just like, I've thought about time a lot, and I think about space a lot. I think about space-time a lot, and how it's just such a part of it's just so baked into us at this point in our history, because we're like, it's just the water, we swim in the air we breathe, and I feel like it's useful for those reasons, and then it becomes unuseful when it sort of comes in for me, or has in the past more. I'm thankful it's dropping away a little bit, but this feeling of like, oh God, here we are. It's the end of May, and I had so much to do this year. And it's like, shut up. Because I didn't have so much to do this year. I did create some fun, like that bingo card that I've actually done a lot of stuff on that bingo card. I've started a lot of stuff, which has been a blast. The bingo card meaning just adding a bunch of fun things to the year in the form of a bingo card so you can kind of play bingo with it throughout the year. And it's been fun. But I didn't really have any big plans this year. There were some like goals that I've been working on. And in my mind, those goals, now it's like a measuring up with like how far along I am on those goals along that horizontal spectrum of the year, and then the end of the year. And then also what's trippy in my mind, I'm just like, what pictures come to your mind like with the year and like what it looks like? So along the spectrum also there's like this hint of like what the seasons look or feel like. And so like May is like green and bright and warm. June, a little bit of that, but warmer. It feels a little like I keep having pictures of the lake and like kayaking. And July feels like more lush green and camping. August is like, what the fuck? Why is it so hot and humid and mosquito-y, feeling? And then still like lush and green. And then September, I'm like, yeah, that's my jam. It's starting to get a little fall like, okay, yeah, but September could be very hot. So there's this oranginess about September that comes in along with the green and a little bit of dryness. I don't know why, but maybe it gets a little less humid. And then October feels like orangier, pumpkinier, and definitely more fall-like, and it feels like apple orchards, And then November is like the number 11 is there along with like confusion. No, this November feels like 11 and confusion and what's it gonna do? Is it gonna snow today? Is it gonna be hot today? Will I be able to wear a t-shirt? Do I have to wear a sweatshirt? Will it be rainy and overcast? Will it be bright and sunny? And it didn't used to be like that in my youth. I swear, November, we were already full on into winter in my mind. But these days, I don't know, global warming and all that, feels like the year has like been a little shifted, with the seasons. And then December feels like stress. And I think it has to do with the commercialization of Christmas. And I'm just so fucking over it, man. So it's like, I keep wanting to bow out of, I have this like, am I in, am I out tug of war lately with Christmas. I bowed out for a few years. That felt good but guilty. There was some guilt associated with it, but overall I stuck to my guns and I said, no, I'm not participating. Apologies, fam. Do me a solid and let me bow out and I'll come back. And I did. I came back in and I was kind of in, like pretty, not all in, but I was like, okay, let's see how this feels now that I've taken some time out of Christmas years. It was like 2 or 3 years. And then came back and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm ready with a renewed sense of givingness, and gratitude and familyness. And that felt good. And this year I feel more of that. So I'm really happy about that. Like wanting to start the gift. I even thought back in January, I'm like, man, I would just love to buy a gift a month, just like focus on one person maybe and say like what really suits them, like what would enhance their little world a little bit, bring some joy in. And I haven't done that yet. I do think about it a lot, but I'm just in my little town most of the time and there's not like shopping. I'm like, I just want to go on Amazon and like scroll and be like, that looks good. It doesn't feel good. It just feels like, I don't know. Sometimes you can find cool stuff on Amazon. And then so December kind of feels like obligation and stress. And I don't like that. I don't want that. So let's flip the script. Right here, right now. Let's flip the script and say December feels like pine trees in the mountains. I don't know why that just came in. It feels like pine trees in the mountains and cozy fires with loved ones. Like indoor fires, outdoor fires, maybe outdoor hot tubs in the mountains. And like sweaters that come up your neck a little bit but don't feel like claustrophobic or itchy. They don't feel itchy either. If you can find a sweater that doesn't feel itchy, tag me. Tag me in the wherever you find it. And it feels like togetherness and like sage. And maybe a nice tea latte like a London fog with coconut milk. Yeah, I'm flipping that script. Done. Sealed in. This is the weirdest little journaling ever. I love it so much. I gotta flip arms. By the way, my wrist is doing much better. It needed the time off. I've been doing my rock tape. I pre-cut a bunch of little strips, and I've been very good about wearing them each and every day. I refresh them every day. Not that you have to, but I'm like, let me do that since I have plenty to go around. And I hurt it roller skating, and then I did a full week of body work on it. And then now I've been able to rest through this training. I woke up this morning, I've had more range of motion than I've had since I hurt it. And like I can spread out without too much discomfort, and I can squeeze. I have more grip strength I don't feel any discomfort. That's amazing. So grateful. That means no breaking, just probably a little sprain and definitely some strain in there. So grateful for that. And I think gratitude is something that just naturally comes in. Like, I'm sure you have your moments of like, oh, yay, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that. And like these times, I'm so grateful for travel and like being able to go for these trainings. I love learning. So to me, it feels like a vacation in a way. It feels like vacation without purpose, even though my purpose was to get educated and gain new skills. But because I love it so much, these topics I'm training in, it feels like just part of my life, part of me, like adding depth to myself. And that makes me so like happy cries, It feels like two birds, but it doesn't feel like I'm doing it to be economical about it, Like I get travel, I get vacation, I get education, I get depth. And it's like, wait, to me that just feels like joy. And this group, this cohort that I was in a cohort where there's this particular training has 3 modules, couple months apart, and last year I did March, June, but I missed September because I had just gotten back from Costa Rica. It would have been the very next week I would be off to Portland. I'm like, something doesn't feel right about that, so I pushed pause. Glad I did. A lot happened last September, so I'm glad I was home for it. But I was like, I'm coming back, and so I was just praying, hoping that they could let me in, because it's not guaranteed that you can just pop into another cohort. It might be full. It might be with the students who are already in that cohort, who started together through their journey. And I was also sad about leaving my cohort. I made some really good friends. One in particular who's like, she's got to be one of my favorite people I've ever met in the world. Isn't that wild? And we're going to catch up again soon. We've had like 4-hour-long phone calls. I haven't done that since I was in middle school with my best friend who passed away when we were only 28. So I've had this hole in my life since then, in some way. Not that I was going to have 4-hour phone calls through my whole adult life, but it kind of has whispers of that, like where you could just talk forever on a phone. Who does that these days? Two middle-aged women, that's who. So anyway, the cohort thing, I miss my old cohort, and coming in, I didn't feel nervous like the new kid at a new school, on the first day of class. I didn't have any of those usual jitters like I would have in the past. So something else has become easeful with being in the company of new people, which is, I welcome that with open arms. And then, oh, my stomach just gurgled. I like that. So, this group has been amazing. And it's so funny because with these groups, they're pretty big, but still, like I said yesterday, intimate, comfortable. And each time you come back together, I know this from all my other trainings too, that are kind of in a similar format. You come back together and things feel a little more comfortable. So therefore you take in more of your surroundings. It's just a natural part of being human. Like, if there's any nerves involved, we kind of have tunnel vision. And then as we get more and more comfortable, our aperture opens and we can take in more of our surroundings. And so each time you come back to a training, you're like, oh, is that person new? I never noticed them before, especially if they weren't one to always ask questions, in class. So I got a lot of that on day one. They're like, were you here before? Because it's an awkward question to ask, because you don't want somebody to feel like you ignored them before in case I was actually in their cohort. Isn't that an awkward thing to say? But I'm glad people were brave and said, are you new here? Because there was some hesitation in the question, and I just chuckled because I would be the same way. It's actually one version of me would be like, I'm not fucking asking, that's awkward, and I don't want them to feel like I didn't recognize them before, or that, but I didn't take it that way at all. I just really appreciated the warmth and the wanting to welcome me. And so I felt very welcome in this group right away, and invited to lunch, and there's no hesitation with this group, which I felt more in the first group. And maybe it's because it's the third go around, it's the end of this training and everyone is coming together and more hugs, and I already feel very much part of the group, and I appreciate that. Because a lot of this trauma work is and we all have something, right? All of us. If you're human, you've got something. And a lot of it, there are themes. There are themes about belonging. Belonging. It's so central to being human. Yeah. So yeah, I love that my stomach's gurgling, because that's a parasympathetic indicator that there's a feeling of belonging, is when the digestion, everything is so related. So I think about people who, and that's why I love to take in information from all points of view, all backgrounds, all science, spirituality, New Age, traditional Chinese medicine, Buddhist, all of the, I love getting stuff from everywhere. My teacher said she's the same way, and she's she called it being a magpie, and the magpie must be one of those creatures that just takes it. I have to Google it, because that's kind of how she talked about it. And I'm I totally relate, because she'll say something and be like, I don't know where that came from. I'm a magpie. And I'm that's what I say in these videos all the time, because I'm always you're going to have to fact check me. You're going to have to Google me, because I didn't. I just say, I don't know where it came from, but it's whatever sticks. And I loved that so much. I'm oh, good. I found my people. And that's belonging, like finding your people. And where was I going with that? I don't know. Oh, so taking in things from everywhere, the chakra system. So if you only exist in the, you might call it New Age, you might call it spirituality, you might call it, uh, even from Hinduism, wherever you came to the chakra system from, whatever your entry point was, if you stayed there, you might already know that, oh, the root chakra is all about belonging, your sense of belonging. And you might be like, orient everything around the chakra system. And then, but that's why I like to take in things from everywhere. It's like, yeah, that came from somewhere, and there might be some resonance with that. And then traditional Chinese medicine and the meridians, feet, like that all ties into that. And then I think about, you might call it science, but the study of the nervous system and the vagal nerve, and that runs through there, and how that the whole polyvagal theory and digestion, and when it's all that's related to belonging, this sense of safety and belonging. And then when people feel that, the digestive system works better, right? It's like, that's why I say there's truth everywhere. Like, what's your entry point? And then did you just stay with that? Or can you find connections and overlaps and congruence between all sorts of things? To me, that's what fuels my like curiosity. Is like, there's no more just like black or white thinking. There's no more just rigidity, and like there's no more just one truth. Like there's no more just getting to the bottom of things. It's almost like I want to get to the expansion of things. I don't know how to call it. There's no just like, because reductionism hasn't worked. We haven't gotten to the bottom of things yet. Ask any like person, ask any quantum physicist. They're still trying to get to the tiniest things. And then they keep finding tinier and tinier things, right? So reductionism is like, so 2025, man, let's go back to time. Like, let's get over it already, right? So anyway, I don't know why all this is in my mind. I guess today's the day of starting to pack up. You can see I have my roller skates that I bought while I was out here. I love them so much. Bought a set of wheels. Those are more like jam skating or rhythm skating wheels. These are the wheels that came with. They're more like speed skating. These are derby wheels. And I'm not this girl ain't gonna be roller derbying. And then these are the old laces. And because this thing pops out all the time, and I need to be able to carry these, I'm gonna MacGyver this. You kids don't even know what MacGyver is. If you're old like me, I'm gonna MacGyver this and like maybe loop some shoelaces through those holes so I can carry it through the airport. Because these skates aren't going in my luggage, because it'll push me over the limit and then I'll have to pay like an extra $100. No thanks. Been there, done that. Not gonna do it again. So that's my plan for this morning after I get off here. So I guess that's my journal for today. It's all over the place. That's okay. That's what journals are. We're not trying to get to the bottom of things anymore. Nope, I'm over that. Are you? Do you resonate with that? Like, aren't you tired of black and white thinking, of rigidity, of like People who think they know. And that's a form of like trying to find safety. That's just where it comes from. This whole like, I gotta understand my environment. I've gotta make it predictable, safe. Like, I've gotta pin things down, know where things are, and that's just not in a literal sense, but figuratively. I've gotta have understanding in my world, and that's why we judge people, or we categorize people, we stereotype, and we're like, okay, this person seems like this collection, this conglomeration of people that I've encountered in my life. So boom, pinned you down. Now I know what to expect from you. I can predict you, feel safe to be around you. It's like so, and it's hard to break that, isn't it? Because again, things are useful to a point until they're not, till they become overdone and we become judgmental, right? Safety is important. It's useful. We need to be safe. We need to survive. It's a survival strategy. And then how do we, this kind of goes back to what I was saying yesterday, is like, because there's this part of me that, because I was talking about I've been thinking more about, curious more about, I think because I have something brewing in me about writing something about where I'm from and how it's informed this organism, and kind of extrapolating that out so that it's relatable to anybody, of course, but the specific is the universal. So to give a specific example makes it more relatable. And so I've been thinking more about how our environments, how mine specifically informs everything about me, and how there are parts of that I just love. And then there are parts that are like, oh God, we need to shed that conditioning. It's no longer useful to me in my world and my worldview. It's getting in the way. It makes me not feel good, So I think there's something percolating there that I'm going to write about. It'll probably take the form of like prose poetry or something. Well, because that tends to be my go-to, just because that's what naturally comes out. But I'm really fascinated by, and that's back to that not black or white thing. It's not always useful and it's not always bad. There is no all bad, all good. I feel like there's usefulness, there's utility in things in our just practical everyday lives and relationality. And then there's like an overdoing. And there are underdoings too, but there's like things are useful to a point. Like we want to bring in more of this if it's being underdone, or maybe we want to let go more of it because it's being overdone. And finding that nice, like I said, I think recently, this ooey gooey squishy middle area that feels more spacious and easy to flow within and be more adaptable. And that's just, again, taking it back to our evolution. That's just how we evolved, is like adaptability. If you're all one way, you're not fit for survival of the fittest sort of thing. You're not probably going to be around that long. If you're too rigid. We were talking about this in class. Like, we're getting into the fluid system. It's systemic. It's like global. We call it global in the system when we deal with our fluids. And I just love now that the world is catching up with like more like the Eastern traditional Chinese medicine and even spiritual traditions. Their understanding of the organism, the body, is like things aren't just so compartmentalized, and like everything's interconnected. And the way the fluids work, like traditional Chinese medicine is all about the blood and the vital qi, and it's so we're getting into that now with like how to touch into that, using touch to influence the fluids like in the body, because it's global. And I love that the research now is catching up to say, wait a minute. The central nervous system is not the only communication system in the body. Of course not. We've been knowing that about fascia forever, right? In certain circles. And then now we know that, well, fascia is just like a different quality of fluid. It's just more, what do you call it? Dense fluid, if that's a word. There are better ways to describe it. But it's like you could call the whole body different densities of fluid. And then the way that the cell walls, the walls of every little tiny cell, let fluids in and out to be adaptable to its environment. And if we're too rigid, even our cell walls become rigid and we can't transfer fluids across the membrane. And it's not woo-woo. There's now finally, like, all of this is coming out in research. It's so funny that it's like, to me, you know what science is? It's always been this. I'm finally catching up with like being able to articulate it. Science is just trying to make sense of the world we already live in and intuitively understand. Science is just trying to come in on top and say, let's put a nice layer of research and logic on this and description. Science, all it does is describe things. It doesn't discover things. Science doesn't discover. Science describes. I'm just going to leave it. I just love that so much. It's true to me. I'm not a scientist though. But if you're I almost said balls deep. If you're balls deep in science, I don't know where that came from. If your heels are dug into science, like if you're a scientist and of course you put so much of money and education and yourself into like being a scientist, of course you might disagree with me and that's okay. On that note, I gotta go.